Hello, children. In chapter 1, force and pressure, we have learned many concepts. Today's our topic is types of forces. Under this topic, today we will learn different types of forces, causes, and their uses. Which are the two main types of forces? There are two main types of forces: contact forces and non-contact forces. Now we shall try to define what are contact forces. The forces exerted by one object on another when they are in contact with each other. Okay, then which are the two main types of contact forces? The contact forces are of two types: muscular force and force of friction, or even we could say as a frictional force. Now we shall discuss muscular forces with the different instances. First one, look at this. A book is on the table. A book lying on a table. Can you push or lift this book without touching it? Let us take one more instance. Bucket of water. Is it possible to lift the water without touching the bucket or pushing the bucket? Next, lifting things. Is it possible without any contact, without using any other substance? Sometimes, even to lift the things, instead of sticks like that, even we may use some rope like this. Okay, children. In all these examples, what do you observe? Here, we need a main thing is a force. Which is that force? That we say a muscular force. Then what is a muscular force? The force resulting due to the action of muscles. The force resulting due to the action of muscles is known as muscular force. Even there are some other instances that muscular force of some animals used to carry out difficult tasks in our day-to-day life. There are hundreds of instances, examples are there. Here I have listed out a few. The first one is bullock cart. It is a means of transportation since ancient times in many parts of the world. Look at those pictures, children. How beautiful is that? Then another one is we are using horses for what? In Tonga and all. What is that Tonga or Tonga? A popular mode of transportation for lightweight. Just you see, nowadays because of that autos etc. Okay, we are not seeing much, but the muscular energy force by these animals we use still now also. Then one more important is camel cart. It is used to transport sand, cement, or other heavy goods. Just have a look. Next, one more domestic animal is very familiar one, but nowadays it has become very rare to see. Which is that one? The donkey. Donkeys can carry more weight because of their unique muscle structure. You see, children, that one. And the quite interesting one is elephants. They're used in various jobs or for to perform many works. The main one is in lifting the tree trunk, where the muscular force is used. Hence, now by seeing this, quite easily we can define what is a muscular force. Look at now, what is a muscular force? The force resulting due to the action of muscles is known as muscular force. Okay. Then why is muscular force also called a contact force? Since muscular force can be applied only when it is in contact with an object. Hence, it is also called a contact force. I hope now you got a clear idea about the muscular force. Now we will see what is frictional force. That is the friction of force. First, children, let us try to understand the meaning of friction. What does friction mean? The action of one surface or object rubbing against another, we could say as friction. Or friction is the resistance, nothing but the opposition to motion of one object moving relative to another. Instances here, instances that C is not there, children. Okay, in that spelling, instances, instances. Just to make a correction, a ball rolling along the ground. Here, simply just to create some interest, I have given these pictures. Okay, now the ball rolling on the ground. Okay, after this, in this slope, gradually slows down, and first it increases, of course, when it goes down, and then when it starts to what flow on the ground, then gradually slows down and finally comes to rest. See one more instance, pedaling cycles. When we stop pedaling a bicycle, it gradually slows down and finally comes to a stop. Why? Next, you see another one, a car or a scooter comes to rest once its engine is switched off. Why? Boat comes to rest if we stop rowing it. Okay, that moving, pushing, we say rowing. For all this, we shall put why, because it is the force of friction between the surface of the ball, in the first case, no children, that one ball, and the ground that brings the moving ball to rest. Now take this last instances, which is that one boat. In this case, friction between water and the boat, friction between water and the boat brings it to stop once you stop rowing. Hence, children, now we shall try to define by all these instances. We can conclude like this. What is meant by force of friction? The force responsible for changing the state of motion. That is, what is the state of moving ball? It is motion. If a force, a frictional force like that, it stops. That's what moving becomes rest. Then the rest one starts motion. That's what we say change of state of motion. Here the force responsible for changing the state of motion of objects is called what? Force of friction, or even we could say as the frictional force. In which direction does the force of friction always act? In which direction the force of friction? The best example, when we walk, just to observe the force of friction between the foot and the ground. Okay, by taking that example, try to answer for this question. In which direction does the force of friction always act? The force of friction always acts on all the moving objects, because in each and every moment we come across in our day-to-day life while we walk. Therefore, just you consider that example, children. Once again, the force of friction always acts on all the moving objects, and its direction is always opposite to the direction of motion. Got it? Okay, children, see, when we walk, here just the ground up, the frictional force, just, okay, it acts opposite to our foot, like that. Why is a frictional force is also called a contact force? Since the force of friction arises due to contact between surfaces, it may be ball and the ground, boat and what, water, and even cycle tire and ground, like that. Since the force of friction arises due to contact between surfaces, it is also considered a contact force, children. So like that, many instances, situations, example we come across in our day-to-day life. So here today we have discussed only two things. What is that? Of course, in types of forces, in the beginning I told you contact and non-contact, but here only today I took that contact forces. In contact forces, we discussed muscular force and some instances, and then what, friction of forces. Children, can you add some more experiences to this? Okay, children, with those experiences, we shall have discussion on types of forces in coming classes. Thank you, children.